my faith does not always have the, and this is what we're told, and it is true to some degree according to the scripture itself, that God will bless according to our faith. Haven't you read that? Haven't you heard that? But sometimes God blesses not according to our faith, but according to his purpose. And even if my faith is right, God may not come through the way I want God to come through, because he has a higher purpose. Which if he gives me what I want, when I want it, it may thwart his ultimate purpose. When Jesus gets the word that Lazarus is sick, he does not respond immediately, even though he has the relationship with them. As a matter of fact, look at what verse 5 says. It says, now Jesus loved them. He loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. Verse 6, when he heard, therefore, that he was sick, he stayed where he was. Now, if that doesn't trouble you, you're not hearing it. That troubles me, because it would seem to me that those two verses ought to read like this. Now, Jesus loved these three, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. Therefore, when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he left where he was. Somebody ought to wake up and hear me. It seems to me that the verses ought to read, now Jesus loved them. When he heard that Lazarus was sick, immediately he spoke a word. That's not the way my Bible reads. And as a matter of fact, some translators, some editors of other versions of the Bible have so many issues with this that they change the word. They say like this, now Jesus loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. Yet when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was. No, you missed me. The King James says, therefore he stayed where he was. The NIV, I think, says yet, which indicates that there's some contradiction between how Jesus felt and what Jesus did. Because the flow, the river changes courses with the word yet. It keeps going in the same direction with the word therefore. Somebody say, make it plain. Make it. See, yet says that there's some contradiction between the fact that Jesus loved them and Jesus stayed where he was. Because if he really loved them, then he would have left where he was and immediately gone to meet the need. But the verse says, therefore, which says to me that the fact that Jesus stayed where he was not a contradiction of his love, but it was a consequence of his love. He loved them, therefore he didn't run to the rescue. Because you would think that God's love would not result in God's delay. You would think that God's love would mean that God would respond immediately. But I'm here to tell you, this is a strange love. Because maybe love doesn't always show up immediately. Maybe love doesn't always hold on so tightly. Maybe God's love doesn't always do what we believe God ought to do. And maybe God's love does not work according to our time schedules, according to our agendas. See, what I got to do is learn to trust God's timing, because I trust God's wisdom. God is in touch with some stuff that's ahead of me that I may not be aware of. God is in touch with some stuff that's going on that I may not know. And if the Lord allows me to take off, when I want to take off, I'm going to run into some stuff that I can't handle. And so if the Lord's timing is not delivering when and how you want him to, just go somewhere and sit down and say, Lord, I'm going to trust your timing. Lord, when you move, I move. Lord, when you say so, that's when I'm going to go. Because you have knowledge that I don't have. You have insight that I don't have. You have ability that I don't have. So even when his delay seems strange, it's best to trust his timing.